ever go through and experience what I've had to experience.
It comes early. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Somebody who's had to fight all of your life.
We're jumping headfirst into yet another incredible tale that's upending both Hollywood and the church. This time, a turbulent debate revolves around Steedy Jake's daughter, who is allegedly snatching a child. You did really hear correctly. The focus is currently on the daughter of a well-known bishop who has had his fair share of controversies. We've got everything from rumors to leaked information to a mother's heartfelt plea for her child. Is this just another front put on by a well-known person, or is there more to this tale? Let's examine the underlying details of this startling charge by removing its many layers. The notorious Steedy Jake's bishop. I assume you've heard of him. He's not your typical preacher either. This man is rather famous in his own right. He is the pastor of the Potter's House, a large church that draws large crowds to hear him speak. However, Jake's is not just a preacher or a churchgoer. So take this. He and P. Diddy linked up. Yes, the mogul of hip-hop. They made the decision to air Jake's sermons on Revolt TV, Diddy's channel. You don't see that combination very often, isn't it? Like combining show business and religion. That raises some questions, doesn't it? There are many different things being said about it. While some people find it cool that a pastor is bringing faith into the public eye, others are left wondering how a pastor fits into the entertainment industry. Undoubtedly, it's a bit of a hat trick. However, it demonstrates how Jake isn't limited to one category. His outreach, his varied actions, and his ability to start conversations. It all comes down to blending the spiritual with the showbiz glamour. Gives you pause, huh? This time, his family is the subject of a great deal of turmoil. Kora Coleman, the eldest daughter of megachurch pastor Steedy Jake, is at the center of a very concerning issue in an increasingly complex narrative. Her narrative weaves together a family in disarray, accusations of manipulation, and personal sorrow. All right, let's speak about Kora Coleman, the daughter of Steedy Jake. She is caught up in not one, but two big dramas involving her children. There is a lot of discussion regarding Kora's purported baby theft. Yes, you did indeed hear that. Kora's life was turned upside down when her former spouse, Richard Brandon Coleman, popularly known as rapper Sky Ventura, was accused of continuing to sexually abuse one of their adopted children. Kora had been married to Coleman from 2011. Yes, people, I share your disgust. They divorced earlier this year as a result of this terrible discovery. Is that really not shocking? Imagine this. Michelle Loud, a hairstylist by trade from Texas, came forward with serious charges. This is the lowdown. On social media, Michelle Loud revealed the information. She asserts that Jason Coleman, Kora's son, is truly her biological child. According to Michelle's account, Kora and her husband, Richard Brandon Coleman, used her vulnerability to their advantage in order to kidnap her son. In an emotional video, Loud said that Kora had taken advantage of her position of power and spiritual authority to deceive her when she was struggling with homelessness and postpartum depression following the birth of her son Jason. Loud claimed that Kora took advantage of her fragility and unstable situation to persuade her that giving up her child was God's plan. Everyone is chatting after watching that video, in which Michelle breaks down in tears and admits that she was set up from the beginning. She tells everyone that Kora was only there to kidnap her baby and wasn't there to aid her, and she is quite furious about it. Michelle is certain that Kora and her spouse did everything within their power to obtain their desired outcome. Now let's examine this Kora Coleman case in more detail. Thus, the neighborhood hairdresser Michelle Loud has been informing everyone that Kora and her spouse Richard Brandon Coleman somewhat exploited her circumstances. Believe it or not, Michelle claims they took her son away by taking advantage of her difficult circumstances. Michelle has been quite forthcoming on social media. She says, "I was set up from the start." In this video, she is quite upset as she claims that Kora wasn't there to help, but rather to remove her child. She is certain that Kora and Richard exerted every effort to achieve their goals. Here is some historical context. Kora and Richard battled to conceive their own children and ultimately adopted their daughter Amari. Since she was 22, Kora has struggled with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Yes, it has been difficult. Jason was adopted by them more than a year after he was born. However, it is a sad fate for the boy to have to endure at the hands of his adoptive father. Cases of child sexual abuse that have long been connected to the Catholic Church attracted attention in 2019 within Protestant denominations. No one ethnicity or religion is exempt from the need to speak up about such abuse situations. Similar to other religious organizations, Black churches have frequently avoided addressing child sexual abuse, which has impacted their efforts to hold perpetrators accountable. Because Kora Coleman serves as a pastor at Bishop Steedy Jake's well-known megachurch, the Potter's House, dubbed the biggest Black church in America, serious accusations have been leveled against the church. She and her ex-husband, Richard Brandon Coleman, are the targets of alarming allegations. The Coleman family is dealing with complicated accusations. Richard is presently in jail on suspicion of abusing children, and Kora is now being held accountable for coercing a lady into accepting her child's adoption. A lot of drama. Michelle isn't holding back either. She says, "Kora totally played me," in her video. She claimed that Kora had her record everything using a MacBook, giving the impression that she was receiving counseling. But hey, what do you know? According to Michelle, everything was set up as a plot to use against her in court when she went to retrieve her son. What a terrible thing that would be to do. Kora is accused by Michelle of manipulating her by disguising herself as a prophetic ministry. She tells the story of a prophet who told her that God intended for her to become Kora's parent. That sounds silly, doesn't it? Additionally, Michelle claims that Kora secretly taped their talks while seeming to be helpful. Now that Brandon Coleman is behind bars on charges of assault, Michelle is working feverishly to make sure her son Jason is safe. Michelle never testified, thus she believes the legal proceedings that awarded Jason to the Coleman family were manipulated. She revealed to her social media followers that she was the only person to represent herself in court, emphasizing her struggle against their riches and might. She felt helpless to carry on fighting after they came to an agreement. The fact that Michelle's son's transfer to Kora didn't adhere to standard adoption procedures raises additional questions about potential ethical transgressions. She says Kora made her an offer of money, but she turned it down, implying that Kora may have been trying to either secure the child or silence her. She insisted throughout her angry posts on social media that she did not seek Pastor Kora to give up her child. Rather, she did so merely to ask for help. Michelle responds to those who question her account by saying she has always spoken out on the matter. Even with limitations despite being bound by a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, she is adamant on revealing her truth in public. The Jakes family has vehemently refuted the accusations in reaction to the wave of them. They refuse to budge, maintaining that Kora's adoption was a legitimate process that followed all rules and didn't entail any special treatment. They make it very evident that they believe Michelle Loud's assertions to be untrue slander and mention that they are legally unable to provide all the information. Since it was difficult for her to conceive children, Kora has been rather transparent about her decision to adopt. She described being a mother in that way as a dream come true. However, after her ex-husband was imprisoned and all of these accusations began to circulate, things took a difficult turn. Kora and her family are currently coping with these serious allegations. They are requesting solitude, some space, and people to remember them in their prayers. Their priorities include healing and resolving conflicts with the law. Additionally, they're furious about what they perceive to be unfounded rumors spreading, particularly since it's impacting the children as well as them. Perhaps all they're doing is keeping quiet, trusting that, as always, their money would take care of everything. Will they succeed? Or is Michelle a formidable opponent? I can truly relate to Michelle Loud's tale because it's quite emotional and provides a lot of insight into the circumstances surrounding Kora Coleman. Imagine yourself as Michelle, a Texas hairdresser who is just scraping by. You've already been dealt curveballs by life. It's not simple. After giving birth to your son Jason, you find yourself in a very difficult situation where you are homeless, have recently ended a difficult relationship, and are battling postpartum depression. I mean, that's a lot to ask of anyone. Richard Brandon Coleman, Kora Coleman's spouse, now enter the picture. Michelle needs support during this very low point in her life. She needs a helping hand and someone to confide in. She reaches out, perhaps in search of assistance, guidance, or anything else to help her get back on her feet. However, Michelle claims that what she initially perceived as a lifeline evolved into something very else. Imagine her reaction when she discovered that the assistance she believed she was receiving was, in fact, a ruse to kidnap her son. That must be playing havoc with her mind. She claims that Kora manipulated the situation by taking advantage of her position and recording their chats while seeming to be helpful. As time goes on, Michelle is now battling mightily to win her son's return, especially because Richard is incarcerated on extremely serious charges. It has the feel of a movie scene. Michelle, though, finds it all too genuine. Against some fairly powerful people, she is defending herself in court and refusing to back down. That requires bravery. So keep in mind Michelle's perspective while we discuss all of this turmoil. It's about a real person's struggle and fight for her child, not simply about the headlines. It's one crazy narrative, and it won't end anytime soon. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Will the Jakes family triumph, or will the child be given back to his birth mother?